What is the Capilano Students' Union? I'm glad you asked. The biggest thing that I would like to impress upon you is that the Capilano Students' Union is not a department of the university. We're a totally separate nonprofit organization with separate bank accounts. We don't report to CAP, like we might report about things we're up to, but we don't we're not beholden to CAP's whims. Like the CAP can't tell us what to do. And because of that, we are able to advocate on behalf of students in an impartial, or no, we're very partial, very pro-student agenda, exclusively pro-student agenda. We are led by students. So our board of directors is entirely made up of students, and that is indeed what you are running for. So we've got a board of directors of up to 31 all told, and 26 of those are up for election in this election. But fret not, so the board team is supported by a very dedicated team of staff members as well, myself included. We've got about, I think it's 15 staff now, so there's a lot of capacity there. The CSU provides services, and as I had mentioned earlier on, advocacy. And that can be anything from individual student like grade appeals to advocating in favor of federal funding or provincial funding, and also leadership opportunities. And that could take the form of being on the board of directors, volunteer opportunities, or even sitting on a committee. So there are plenty of things you can do to be involved if you're not successful in the election. There are other opportunities as well, so don't miss out on those. I touched on this a little bit earlier on. CSU provides a lot of different services, including the community cupboard, which is a food bank on campus. We provide gift cards to grocery stores as well as non-perishable foods. The health and dental plan. We've got extended health and dental coverage through our partners at Student Care. One of my personal favorite services that we offer is Device Doctor. Device Doctor is one of our staff members that is a trained, I guess, hardware and software technician. Basically, the way my elevator pitch for it is that say you break your phone screen. I think we've all been there. You can get it replaced for $20. I think last time I had my phone screen replaced, it was like $120 all in, but we do all the labor for free, so we just pay the cost of parts. And it's not only phones, it's also laptops, tablets. Maybe you need some software support, reinstall OSs, anything you can imagine. Special events, we've organized some very large and small events. Our biggest name is probably Captivate, which is an on-campus concert we do every September. One that we're thinking about bringing back this year is Rock the Boat, and that is like it's a 3-hour cruise around English Bay. Very, very fun. We also do collective organizing. We organize and support members of constituency groups, including queer students, women students, international students, and various other student groups that may be traditionally marginalized. We provide support and funding to student groups. One of these things is the Capilano Business and Professional Society, as well as the various, I think it's like 24 or so CSU clubs. So if you start a club or are in a club, you can have access to quite a bit of funding. Volunteer experience, the CSU offers a whole host of volunteer opportunities. Committee experience, every board member must sit on at least 2 committees. Committees include governance, finance, student engagement, campaigns. So they're a great opportunity to get experience with decision-making and say the meeting rules like Robert's Rules of Order, perhaps you've heard of. And finally, the board of directors, which is why we're all here today. Like I said, the board of directors is the body that leads the organization. They make all the big decisions. They decide the strategic direction, how we spend our funds. The CSU has an impressive, I don't know the figure, but I believe it is north of $1 million easily of a budget every year. So there are a lot of funds available to dedicate to various programs. Director benefits, well, it's valuable experience. I heard a couple of you today say that you're interested in getting some experience before you hit the job market. I can't agree with that enough. This is absolutely the place to do that. Perhaps one of the more enticing things is that all the positions are paid. You can earn a little bit more than $26,000 if you are the president of the CSU, and that's for 20 hours a week, which is a tidy little rate for a student. And also, no experience is necessary. We'll fully train you. So you can come in with nothing on your slate. But the one thing, it's not written down anywhere, but the one thing I think is absolutely necessary is just that you care and that you want to try. You can't teach how to care. So if you have that, then you are in a very good position. All of the positions, there are no positions that exclude any international students. I know that they've lifted the 20 hours a week maximum for international students to work, but under the old, like I was saying, under the old system, the international students were only permitted to work 20 hours. If it's on, however, if it's on campus work, there is no restriction. And so all of the positions are open to international students, and we'll get into the restrictions a little bit later on in this presentation. Flexible working hours. CSU understands that you folks are students first. That should always be your #1 priority. And so we can work around your schedule. The CSU is very, very flexible in that regard. Various commitment levels are available. I mentioned the president making like $26,000 a year. So that's for 20 hours a week, and you are in a real leadership role. But it's very understandable if you don't have that kind of flexibility. So I would estimate that some of the other positions are maybe closer to 3 to 4 hours a week, and their pay is different in accordance with that commitment level. And perhaps the most exciting thing is you can make a real impact on campus community. I have been here for 9 years, coming up maybe in 2 weeks, 9 years. Ooh. And I've seen the CSU really transform some of the campus culture, even while I've been here. I'm not saying that was me, it was not me, but the decisions the board has made and the strategic direction that the board has set for the organization has made a huge difference to Capilano, which has, I would argue, historically been a very commuter campus. So yeah, decisions you make here can have very real effects. How are we doing so far? Anything I can be more clear on? Am I speaking too fast, too slow?
I'm okay with the pace, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Who can run? Well, you are absolutely required to be a CSU member. If you don't know what that is, and you're not sure if you're a member, you almost certainly are. So CSU defines membership as someone who has taken 4 credit classes either in the current or previous semester. So basically the only, as far as I know, the only not for credit classes are the executive education courses, and I believe they're all at Lonsdale. And I think some of the high school equivalency courses are not for credit, but that's a very small proportion of the school. You must intend to serve the whole term. So the term runs from June 1st to May 31st of next year. And so when you do your nomination paperwork, and we'll get into that later on, but when you do your nomination paperwork, one of the things you must declare is that you intend to serve the whole term. We understand that things happen. Maybe there's an illness, maybe there's some sort of other change in your life that precludes you from being able to commit to a full year. This happens. It is always preferred that the entire term is served, but if you get sick, your mom gets sick, or there's any sort of big situation you get yourself into, you're not going to get dinged for having to resign early. It's just, it would suck, but we're not going to get you for it. There are some self-identification requirements. I mentioned earlier on that we do collective organizing for various traditionally marginalized constituency groups. And so most of those positions, all except one, are require the person running for the position to self-identify as a member of that group. For example, the Queer Students Liaison, you would be expected to be a member of the queer community if you were to run for that position. And this is all self-identified. It's not like you have to hand in any sort of paperwork indicating this stuff. Just you must truthfully self-identify as a member of those groups. And in addition, the faculty and campus representatives, those folks must be from their faculty or campus. And this is something that we do cross-reference with university records. And when you see the names of the positions, be very, very clear what they are. How to run. This is one of my most exciting parts. The nomination period has already begun. The nomination period kicked off on Monday at noon. We have an extra long nomination period this time around, but don't let that result in you delaying. My recommendation is always to get your paperwork in as soon as you can. And in fact, if you get it in by, I believe it's the 24th, David will review your package and let you know if there's anything that needs to be corrected. It's happened it's not often, but it's happened a few times when that's very qualified candidates who I would have been wonderful additions to the board couldn't run because there were errors in their nomination paperwork. So always good to get it in early. So yes, all that to say, we've got nomination packages available at the CSU member services. That's in the CSU Library Lounge, and they're also available on the CSU's website. If you go to csu.bc.ca/elections, they'll be in the sidebar there. So you get your nomination paperwork, and then you must get at least 10 signatures for the vast majority of the positions. The Sunshine Coast campus representative only requires 2 signatures, but at least 2 signatures, but all of the other positions require at least 10. I recommend going the extra mile and getting 12 to 15 just in case. If someone puts down the wrong student number or doesn't sign it or something like that, those nominations may not count. So always best to do extras. Or if you get yours in early enough, David will let you know if there's any of the names didn't match up or if there are any issues. Can't stress enough how valuable that is. So yeah, submit, and that's point number 3, submit your nomination package. So your nomination package can be submitted in person to the CSU member services or by email to elections@csu.bc.ca. And all of the stuff that I'm saying, don't worry about taking notes. This will be in the candidate handbook, which is going to be made available to you. Speaking of which, how to run. We have the candidate handbook. Pardon me. The candidate handbook, and inside this, I believe it is 17-page document, includes all the information you're going to need, and it talks about like all your dates and deadlines, an overview of the rules, which we'll also go over at the orientation. David will thoroughly explain all the campaign rules. There are some, I don't want to say strict, but there are some clear rules and regulations and procedures surrounding how to campaign, things you can and can't do. For example, the CSU does not permit slates or like political parties. Folks aren't permitted to like campaign together. So if David and I, well, not David and I, if Chris and I are running for president and vice president, we're not permitted to go up to people and pitch each other together, just seen as unfair to maybe some folks who aren't able to run with others. CSU is pretty strict about that, so please heed that advice, those rules. Yes, so we'll go over that in the candidate orientation after you've submitted your nomination paperwork. And after you've attended the orientation, you will be permitted to start your campaign. And also there will be an opportunity to go to a candidate forum, which is basically an event at which our partners at the Capilano Courier will ask you a series of questions. We'll record them. People will be invited to watch live, but we'll also record them and make them available on YouTube. And finally, yeah, like I was saying, campaign, get votes. The actual voting is between March 14th and 16th, entirely online. So we open them up at 9 a.m. on the first day, and they are open around the clock. And we'll send your ballots to your Capilano U emails, and you will get quite a few of those emails unless you vote early. Anything I can clarify so far?
I just had a couple of questions.
Sure.
So number one, you did mention that we are supposed to get certain signatures or certain confirmations from your friends. Now, what if you, some of your friends are also running along in the elections?
Yes, so like I was saying earlier on, candidates are not meant to combine forces or cooperate. Like, I wouldn't be appropriate for you and another candidate to go up to people and request signatures together and endorse one another. That wouldn't be appropriate. If you happen to talk to, like, a student can nominate more than one person. That's okay. A student can nominate more than one person for the same role. That's fine too. But the concern lies in candidates cooperating and going up to people together, for example. So if you have all the same names as several other candidates, it'll be very clear that you're just clearly going up to the same people. So that would be frowned upon. David, do you want to clarify anything for us? You're muted though.
Sorry about that. Only that I see no reason why a candidate couldn't sign somebody else's nomination form, taking into account this John's concern about slating.
Yeah, candidates can sign one another's, but just not cooperate in an organized way. And did you have anything else you wanted to add, or did that satisfy your?
No, that sounds fine.
Great.
Awesome. Just a quick question. It's about the nomination packages. I'm on campus right now, so I could just go and collect it from the CSU thing
Yeah.
at the library. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Go. It's at CSU Member Services, which is
Okay.
located inside the library lounge. It's that great lounge with all the couches in the center of campus.
Got it. Got it. Awesome.
And I can also paste the forms in the chat here.
If you could, yeah, that'll be great, because I am on campus just 2 days a week. So it'll be so, and just to confirm, digital signatures work, right? So if some of my colleagues and peers, they can just send me their digital, they can actually copy and paste their digital signature on the form. Does that work, or do I need handwritten signatures for that?
Digital signatures, yes. We can accept digital signatures as long as they're like clearly an actual signature.
Yes,
If it's like someone's typed name in a script font, that does not count. We're not able to accept that.
Sounds good. Awesome.
Like photos of signatures, like paste a photo like across into the form if you want, but just make sure they're actual signatures.
For sure. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. That clarifies that.
And further, if you wanted to get some in person and some digitally, just submit the digital ones to David at the email, at his email, which is posted all over the paperwork. And then you can put give the paper form to the desk, or you can take photos of your paper forms. We make it easy to submit your nomination paper. I've just pasted the nomination package in the nomination package in the chat here for your reference.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to open this link now and just confirm that I see that.
Great.
Yes, I do actually. Awesome. Thank you so much. And just another quick question. You mentioned that, David, you could actually oversee what's happening and give us small feedbacks when necessary. When's this happening?
So as long as you submit your papers by the deadline for early nominations, I should be able to get back to you in a day or two.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's it for my questions, at least.
Great questions. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead. So speaking of the early nomination review deadline, so that is Friday, February 24th at noon. And so, just make sure you get them in by then. And then I imagine David will, like he said, a day or two. But the final deadline is March 1st at noon. If you bring them at 12:01, you're not running. So be very, very careful to get your stuff in on time. If you're in a situation where you're stuck on a bus and it's 11:57, just take photos of all your forms and send them by email to David. The day after the final nomination package deadline, we're going to have our candidate orientation. It is absolutely required. You have to do it, otherwise you won't be able to campaign whatsoever. It is scheduled for Thursday, March 2nd at 3. if you're unable to make it, we will schedule a follow-up, but please try to make it on the first day. And we're going to be having those in person in the Maple building on campus. I mentioned earlier on the candidate forums. We're going to have candidate forums on March 7th and 9th, and that will be taking place remotely. And finally, like I said earlier on, March 14th to 16th is our voting days, and your elected term will be for 1 year starting June 1st, 2023.
Just a quick note on that. I'm sorry to interrupt you at this point.
Oh, I
It's
like
just
it.
that Thursdays I have class, which is totally my thing. Thursdays I have class. I actually have class right now. I just asked myself to be excused by my professor. And I noticed that March 2nd, which is the candidate orientation, that's actually a Thursday, and it coincidentally it's the same time as my class, and I actually have a midterm that day. So
Okay.
I'm not sure how's that gonna work. I'm not sure yet.
Ashneet, the candidate orientation is mandatory. You must do it if you want to be a candidate. However, if you cannot make it on Thursday, March the 2nd, we can set time for a makeup orientation. I will do it with you at another time.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, David.
So positions available. I talked a little bit about the president role. The other positions on the CSU executive are written here. We've got VP Equity and Sustainability, External Finance and Services, and Student Affairs. There are full job descriptions, actually summarized job descriptions in the candidate handbook, and they're also on the website, even more summarized. These positions, the CSU executive, which is just president and vice presidents, they are the highest responsibility level. They're also the highest compensation. It's generally about 20 hours a week. For eligibility, you just have to be a CSU member and intend to serve the whole term. There's no, like, you don't have to have been on the board before, or you don't have to be like a second year, third year, fourth year student, just a CSU member. They will let the voters decide if you're the one. Yeah, like I was saying, these are leadership positions. They are higher responsibility, but higher compensation, great experience. If you want to kickstart your career, these are really wonderful ways to get a lot of experience fast. Yeah, do we have any questions about the CSU executive positions, or are there any positions here you'd like to hear more about? Anything I can tell you about, like, what they're actually doing, their portfolios? If you have a specific position in mind, please let me know, either audibly or in the chat. And it's okay if you would like to move on, that's okay too. All right. Oh. All right. Next, we have the collective liaisons and coordinators. And so I mentioned earlier on that these positions are only open to folks who are members of these communities, self-identified members of these communities. The exception to this is the accessibility justice coordinator. That person does not have to be a student with disabilities, or pardon me, a student with access needs. It just has to be a student who's interested in such things and interested in increasing accessibility, or perhaps increasing awareness about accessibility issues. These folks are compensated a little over $4,000 per year. And like I was saying earlier on, I would estimate that the time commitment is 3 to 4 hours a week. You are required to sit on 2 committees. The committees generally meet once every 2 weeks, I would say, sometimes every 3, sometimes 4. And those meetings generally, I would say, go on for 60 to 90 minutes. And in addition to that, all board members must attend meetings of the CSU Board of Directors. That is required. And generally, over the past few years, we've always met twice a month on Fridays at 2:30. There are some variances in December. I think we front load the meetings in December because folks go off on break. But yes, that's the commitment level for these positions. If there's any questions about any of the specific positions, I'm happy to provide more insight on any of them if you folks have anything in mind.
Just a quick question as well here. I was going through all the positions that were opened, and this is my first time that I'll be applying for one of these positions. So since I'm a beginner, am I supposed, is it okay if I apply for a vice president position, for example, although I do not know how the position actually works, or should I just start with the entry level positions? For example, I see here Capilano Business and Professional Society Association presidents. What do you say on that maybe? I hope I'm clear.
No, no, you're absolutely clear. Yeah, you absolutely can run for vice president right off the bat. I think that roughly half of our executives are first timers. I think there's a lot of value in doing either a faculty liaison or faculty representative or collective liaison position. It's great to have that base. But if you are committed, I think you can absolutely run for an executive position right away. There are benefits and costs to both of them. But yeah, like you may, and you could absolutely win that, like for sure. Any of these positions you can win any of these positions. We actually had a record-breaking number of vice president external candidates last time with 13 people running for one position. I've never seen it. I've never even seen half of that number run for one position. So they can be pretty competitive because of the rate of pay. And I think people are pretty excited about the experience you can get. But yeah, it's up to you, whichever one you want to run for, you absolutely can. And I'm sure you could do a good job doing it, as long as you satisfy my own personal requirement of caring a lot. That's not official. That's my strong recommendation. As long as you care and work hard, you'll excel in any of these things.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that with clarity. Thank you.
No worries. All right. So I also mentioned the faculty and campus representatives. I neglected to mention the at-large representatives. So we'll get to that in just a moment. I want to remind you that these positions, again, like I mentioned before, only available to folks who are in those faculties, declared major in those, declared in the faculty that they're seeking to represent. Or the campus. So if you want to be Sunshine Coast campus representative, you have to be taking classes or be in a major that is based in the Sunshine Coast, or rather a program that is based out there. The at-large representatives do not have any requirements for faculty or self-identification. The at-large representatives are, they don't have a well-defined or a specifically defined portfolio. The at-large representatives have a lot of freedom to kind of do what they want, but like take on projects and portfolios that they think are missing from CAP, or maybe add to some portfolios that need a hand and they feel like there should be more focus, or they can just be a representative who just represents the average student with no specific faculty or constituency group in mind. They're very, very flexible. The others, historically, both the collective liaisons and the faculty reps, like we used to encourage folks and require folks to try to create a lot more community and like build up those communities a lot more and hold meetings with those communities. But that's kind of transformed more so into representing the interests of those communities as a student from that group. That being said, with faculty representatives, sometimes you'll have meetings with deans to provide feedback on issues that your faculty is facing. Like the collective liaisons and coordinators, they're also paid a little bit north of $4,000 per year. And like those positions also, I would estimate they're like 3-4 hours per week. Are there any positions? Oh, I should probably note, you may have seen some asterisks on some of these positions. And what that refers to is that position is either vacant or currently held by someone who was appointed by the board, but not elected. So if you're appointed by the board and someone else gets elected into that position, that elected person will take on that role shortly after the election. So they get to they have the option of starting early. You don't have to, but you have the option to. Most folks take the option, but that's up to you. Yeah, before we move on to the Capilano Business and Professional Society. Is there anything else that we want to talk about here? Anything else, anything I can clear up? Okay, wonderful.
I'm all good. I'm all good.
Great, thank you. So the Capilano Business and Professional Society, also known as CBPS, are they are their own organization that is under the CSU umbrella. They operate generally independently from CSU. There are some things that the CSU board must approve, like if there are bylaw changes, they must approve them. But generally speaking, are autonomous, I don't want to say autonomous, but they are separate to the CSU. The positions I want to talk about in this moment are the CBPS president and the CBPS vice president. These folks are acting in the leadership role. They're representing all of the different associations within the CBPS. And their compensation is $750 per year for the president and $550 per year. Is it per year or per semester? I might have to double check on that. Do you recall, David? Oh, you're still muted.
Apologies. No, I don't recall.
All right. Well, I'm gonna double check on that. I think it might be per semester. I'm fairly certain it's per semester. So please refer to the candidate handbook for the most up-to-date information. On
Yeah,
that.
it's per semester, I think.
It is per semester. Well, thank you for the opportunity for me to copy, edit, or proofread my slides live. So please forgive me for that. These rates changed a little while ago. They used to be per year. Any other questions about the CBPS executive roles? Right, moving forward. The CBPS Association President. So the CBPS is made up of seven different associations, including accounting, communication, finance, marketing, human resources, international business, and legal studies. As you can see, several of those are currently unoccupied or occupied by folks who were appointed. So the successful candidate will have the option of starting these early. Eligibility is that you must be enrolled in a program in the Faculty of Business and Professional Studies and in good academic standing, and you must be a member of the Capilano Students Union. Compensation for these are $300 per semester. That is an accurate figure. I'm confident about that. These are very active roles. You act as association leaders, and you're in this role. You'll manage a team, and with that team, you'll organize, implement, and facilitate events. Honestly, I am less familiar with the CBPS, but I know that they're very, very active. They have a lot of folks on their teams. There are a lot of CBPS, but at least for some of the associations, there are a lot of positions available. So you will have this, while they are paid less than board members, there is a lot of experience to be had in these positions as well. A lot of leadership opportunities in here. Anything I can clear up on this? All right,
Just a quick question again. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, the last slide is about questions, so go ahead.
It's just that I am studying business administration at CapU. It's
Great.
just that, but I'm majoring in management information system. But
Yeah.
can I still apply for the marketing associate position? Maybe. Does that need to be aligned as well, or does the business administration department that you look for?
This is an excellent question. There is nothing precluding. The only requirement is that you are in the business and professional studies faculty. So it may be tougher to get elected among the marketing students if you are not in their program. But there's nothing. That's just my personal opinion, but there's absolutely nothing stopping you. It is a very large faculty. And so, yeah, that's up to you. That's up to you and the voters. So you could absolutely do this.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries. Folks, that's all of my prepared comments. So if there's anything else that you've been sitting on, I would love to hear your questions. I'll give you a moment to marinate on that.
I'm all set at least. This was a
Also
this was very brief yet very explanatory. That was really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I heard another voice back there.
No. We just wanted to say thanks a lot, and everything's pretty clear. But if there are any other questions which come up, we would definitely email you.
Awesome. And we've got David's email is plastered all over all of the documents accessibly, I would say. So please don't be shy. It is elections@csu.bc.ca. All of the documents that I've referred to today are available at the CSU elections website, which is, you can see the link there on the screen. I love getting questions about elections. David, I don't want to speak for you, but I bet you love it too.
More than almost anything.
So if you want to follow up, if you want to have another information session, like a one-on-one, that is great. I would love to meet with you. I would love to field your questions. If there's anything you think of, please bring it to me. I very much want you to run this election successfully. Nothing warms my heart more than seeing competitive elections, or rather races, all the way down on a ballot. So please don't be shy. David, is there anything you want to add before we go?
Yes, there was one comment. For those of you who submit nomination packages and become candidates, there will be an orientation session where we'll be able to get into the rules governing the election in more detail. So don't expect all your questions to be answered now, but that orientation session will give us a chance to get into it in more detail.
Yes, we'll get super detailed. So if anything's not clear, we'll get to it at that orientation session for sure. But again, don't be shy about sending your messages or queries our way. Yeah, if there's anything else, folks, I'd love to hear it. Or if not, we can say so long.
I was just wondering what roles and responsibilities there are for certain roles, but like you mentioned that there are brief descriptions on what each individual has to do if they're selected for that role. So I'll look into that.
Yeah, if there's any specific role you want to mention now, I'm happy to give you my personal experience, but what I've observed in that role. Or
I haven't actually decided yet because I was still not sure if I was allowed to go for different roles per se. So I'll still look into it and see which one's the best fit for me and where I can contribute the most.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. There are a lot of different options. So read through them. If you want to clarify anything, please get in touch. You can, if you would like to talk to or ask any questions of the people who are currently in those roles, there is contact information available on our website at csu.bc.ca. We've got emails of all of our representatives on the contact page, as well as my email. And David's email, like I was saying, is plastered all over all of our documents. So yeah, feel free to get in touch. So last call for questions. All right, folks, that's it for me. Thank you so much. I'm really excited. I hope to see all of your names on the ballot. I'll be looking for you. So yeah, until next time, hope to see you at the candidate orientation.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.